Okay, I will go ahead and get started. Thank you everyone for joining and welcome to our event today. This is the Westminster Working Cultures Professional Global Career Insights for India. My name is Shelby and I have the pleasure of overseeing the WWC Professional series of events. It's aimed at supporting the employability of our international students in their home countries. So just to give you a little bit of context, Westminster Working Cultures, WWC, it's our university-wide initiative that's designed to enhance the employability of our University of Westminster students through utilizing the support of our global network of alumni and partners. And the WWC Professional branch of activities, which is why we're all here today, is a series of events that's designed for our international students and our recent graduates to learn virtually about the professional landscape and career opportunities and working life in the global labor market, and in particular that of their home country. So attending this professional event today will give you a chance to learn from and network with some successful Westminster alumni who left the UK after graduating to transition back to establish themselves professionally in their home country. So you'll learn ways to showcase your degree from the University of Westminster in an international setting. And the speakers will be providing some CV advice, interview tips, local sector specific information, and so much more. So myself and the Westminster Working Cultures team have a really great event planned for you today, and our panel of speakers will be introduced shortly. But just before I go on to introduce the panel, a little bit of housekeeping. So first of all, the event is being recorded to share with the wider student body at a later stage. I would like to ask you all to please keep yourself on mute for the duration of the event, just to make sure that the sound is clear throughout and to reduce any interference while our speakers are talking. And lastly, please do make use of the chat function to ask questions for our speakers. So you can already start writing your questions throughout the panel discussion, and I will pick up these questions submitted via the chat and ask these during the Q&A. I'd also highly encourage you to use the raise your hand function to ask your question directly to our speakers. So if you can, I would encourage you to turn on your cameras when you're asking a question. It'd be great to see your faces. And our speakers really do want to talk to you and engage with you, answer any of your questions. So please do take this opportunity to do that. And once again, thank you for joining us. So without further ado, I will now introduce today's panel of speakers. So first, we are joined by Pavithra Gurusamy, who received her MA in Event Design and Management in 2020 from the University of Westminster, earning the prestigious Silver Westminster Employability Award the same year. She's currently the Events Marketing Manager at SpotDraft. She's a leading global legal tech company where she leads the events marketing function, playing a pivotal role in accelerating the company's growth since the past 1.5 years. And with an extensive background in organizing successful events across diverse sectors such as software as a service, real estate, music, education, and charity, she's made her mark in various global locations, including the US, UAE, UK, and India. And she's also currently based in Bengaluru, India. So it's great to have you here. Thank you for joining us. Next, we're joined by Sunil Kamath, who received his MS in Mobile and Satellite Communications in 2001 from the University of Westminster. He's a seasoned sales and marketing professional with more than 2 decades of experience and is currently based in Bengaluru, India. His most memorable stint was with Norwegian multinational technology company Opera, where he was responsible for driving growth and monetization for their browser business across South Asia and Southeast Asia. Sunil has won the CBO of the Year award in 2022 as a recognition of his work across the years. And since 2021, Sunil has been an active angel investor with more than 25 investments and supporting first-time founders in India, primarily in the consumer tech space, and as a limited partner with a global SaaS-based venture capital firm. So he's currently working on his own startup in age tech to build products and services for the 55 plus age group, initially targeting the Indian market. So thank you, Sunil, for being here, and welcome as well. And finally, we are joined by Harsh Aggarwal, who received his MSc in Finance and Accounting in 2019 from the University of Westminster. He's an experienced finance and legal specialist, currently working as manager, global accounts payable at the Knot Worldwide, based in North Delhi. With over 9 years of experience in the finance and services industry, he has developed expertise in various domains. His key competencies encompass leadership and management, client and team coordination, strategy development, data analysis, as well as effective communication and negotiation. Harsh excels in leading and managing teams, ensuring seamless coordination, and fostering a culture of productivity. And he's also played a pivotal role in expanding the client base and leading teams to success. So he's currently been with the organization, the Knot Worldwide, for over 3 years, and it's been a really great achievement journey so far. So thank you again, Harsh, for being here today. So that concludes our 3 speakers that we will have joining us today. So please join me in welcoming them once more. Thank you all for being here. And without further ado, I'm happy to open the panel discussion. So I would like to open up the panel discussion with one question, and we can go in the order of introduction. So from your experience, what would you say is the #1 benefit of having a degree from the University of Westminster when job searching in your home country, or also internationally if you have experience with that? So I'm happy to maybe start with you, Pavithra.
Sure. Thank you so much. Thanks for the wonderful introduction, Shelby, and thanks to everyone who's attending. So I guess to start with, the degree from abroad really kind of speaks for itself, right? I mean, it definitely speaks for itself in terms of like global experiments and like exposure with other people from across the globe. So that's definitely there for sure. And it's also a great conversation starter in my case because mine is a very rare degree. Nobody gets a degree in event design and management, right? So I mean, recruiters are very curious as to know why did you do this degree and why did you go to London to do it. So I think that's a great conversation starter, and like it really like puts you out there to explain why you did what you did. Um, and not only just degree, but when I was in London. I also upskilled by taking other courses that complements my degree, right? So, for example, like while I was taking my event design and management degree, I also did a short course in psychology. So people were like, okay, that really like puts her ahead of the race because not only did I understand what the event design should look like, but I also understood how an attendee's psychology works, like how to actually psychologically trigger them to make the event memorable for them, right? So I guess like upskilling along with your degree, and I did it again from a university in London. So multiple courses, I mean, keep upskilling. So that's what I would say. It really helped me.
That's fantastic. Thank you. And definitely a great conversation starter, having your degree from Westminster. I'm happy to pass over to you, Sunil, if you're okay to go next.
Yeah, sure. Firstly, thanks for the introduction and good afternoon, good evening to everyone who's joined on this call from different parts of the world, I guess. I think in my case, again, a bit like what Pavithra said, very rarely I would have come across someone doing masters in mobile and satellite communications. That's way back in 2000, 2001. And I was a bit fortunate also to utilize that degree to get a role in a multinational company when I came back to India in 2001. So I think a degree from a global university, especially from something like Westminster, kind of makes you stand out in the opportunity list when there's somebody as a potential recruiter looking out to hire. It brings a bit of credibility to what you've built and what you kind of added as value to your overall career roadmap. And I think it's a good starting point in your initial years of your job. But as you transition, obviously, your work takes precedence over your degree over the years. But honestly, I think I just feel that if you have an international degree in a career option of your choice, and it's a fairly large job opportunity space, it definitely improves your chances of starting off at a very different footing within an organization or within your career path. And I think it accelerates you by a couple of years, to be honest.
Amazing. Thank you so much for sharing that. Harsh, I'm happy to go to you next.
Thank you for the introduction, and good afternoon, good evening, or good morning in some parts of the world from where you have joined in. I would definitely agree to what Sunil and Pavithra had said. Getting a degree from international university puts you ahead from others who are pursuing any degree locally, maybe in different countries around the world. But at the same time, it also adds on to the international recognition or the prestige that it comes along. From a global perspective, your views changes when you study in a university which is having students from around the world. The quality of education that you have gained there, or enhancing your normal competitive skills, or anything that adds value to you, that definitely helps you in looking out for the job. But at the same time, the finance is such a field in India specifically, where at times there are employers who will look for your local degrees and prefer that more. But that was back when I came in, as COVID was there. But now it's getting normal, back to back things. And if you are having an international degree, and if it's a global employer, it's very helpful to have a degree with Westminster or any other international university.
Thanks very much for sharing. Yeah, it's really interesting to hear all of your perspectives and some similarities that you shared as well. So it's really great to hear that you all found there to be a benefit of having a degree from the University of Westminster, and how employers really value that global perspective that it brings. So thank you so much for sharing that. So my next question, what would you say that employers in your home country look for in a candidate? So can you share your top tips on CV writing and interview skills in India, and even more specifically in each of your sectors? And we can start with maybe Sunil this time.
Yeah, sure. I think in my experience, when you are very early in your career, I think what really matters is your educational background, the kind of course that you have studied, the college, the university where you have studied from. That kind of becomes extremely important to evaluate a candidate. Along with that, what adds a lot of weightage is if you have on-the-job skills, if you have internships that you've done, if you work in the social sectors, etc. A lot of value-add personality, because I think in the current times, employers are not looking to hire only people with great knowledge or great degrees. They also look for great personalities, people who can express themselves, who are a bit well-rounded in their overall outlook. Right. That's broadly what I see as from an employer's perspective. When it comes to writing of CVs and interview skills, etc. From my okay, just to continue, yeah, I think from a CV standpoint, what actually I've been looking for generally is either you talk about the impact of the work that has happened because of your contribution. If you don't have work experience, obviously you talk a lot about what you've done during your college, school, post graduation days in terms of activities, etc. in colleges that you participated. Uh, Another thing which I would kind of say is in the recent years, I've been seeing some very interesting CVs coming to me as videos, like short videos, where candidates have made a short video of their performance. They actually shared their work over a video, right? That's quite innovative, to be honest. So I think there's a lot happening in that space. But yeah, honestly, this is what I had as thoughts on what you asked, Shelby.
Thank you. And yeah, very interesting to hear that there's some CVs coming in as a video recording. That's new to me.
Yeah.
Happy to go to you, Pavithra, next.
Sure. That's actually interesting, Sunil. I mean, I'm sure you know better because you're also in the other side of hiring. But one thing I would say is if you don't have much experience after, I mean, if you're a fresh graduate just right after college, I would say leverage the strengths demonstrated throughout your education, right? Let's say you were part of the student union or you were heading some kind of department in your college fest. Like, look at all the transferable skills from these experiences and then try to like convert it according to the job that you want to land in, right? So I would say kind of focus on that because that really puts you as a seasoned professional and not just a fresh graduate. So that's one thing I did. Before my first job, like right 3 years ago, I already had experience working with NGOs across US, UK, India, and even the Middle East. So even before I started my first job, I kind of tried all the global stuff that I could. Um, Regardless of money, right? I did not expect a huge paycheck when I was trying out all of these things, but that really put me ahead of the curve because I not only did I have like global experience, but I also tried out different industries in my field. So I would say that. And my top CV tip that really worked for me is being data driven. I'm sure whatever field you're in, being data driven is like that's what businesses look for, right? Let's say you talk numbers in terms of like, okay, I handled a budget of $1.5 million, but then an ROI of $2 million was what I was able to get out of the 1.5 I spent. That really like puts you ahead of the curve because then they know that you know what you're talking about and like you really come across as a seasoned professional. So being data driven is my top CV trick.
That's great advice. Thank you so much. And also really important to note that even if you don't have the relevant work experience for a specific role, it's great to still leverage those strengths that can be demonstrated in other areas of your life, like the extracurriculars or education, because it can all be transferable. So thank you so much for sharing that. Harsh, I can go to you next.
I'm having the similar kind of experience while recruiting or when I applied for different jobs. Like if you are having an experience in your field, uh, your degree matters, but your experience, like what you are bringing on the table for the recruiter, that matters more. But if you are a fresher and looking for a job and you do not have any experience in terms of internship or anything, your degree matters from where you have studied and what kind of things that you did apart from your studies. As both of the people have already said, that what extra skill sets that you have, what kind of innovations or things that you were involved in college. Maybe you were part of any student union or you did anything innovative in your studies, or your maybe just your thesis. What did you write about? That also explains about what kind of person you are and what all you can bring to an employer, and what value you can add basically. If we talk about the CV tip, quantifiable is a thing that you must show in your CV, maybe in terms of, as Pavithra has already said, handling the numbers, or maybe quantifiable in terms of time. For example, you were allotted a work, but you usually get that work in less number of hours that were allotted to you by innovating or doing anything in those terms. Also, a very small tip, but make sure that you alter your CV according to each job. Do not just send your same CV to multiple employers, because it needs to be curated according to the job post.
Absolutely. Thanks so much for sharing that. It is very important to tailor your CV based on every role that you're applying for. And I also love that you mentioned that it's important to also think outside of your studies, getting involved on campus, maybe in a union, or just, yeah, getting involved on top of your studies is very important to show who you are. So thank you for sharing that. This leads into my next question. So for students who are aiming to get some experience here in the UK while they're studying before moving back home, what kinds of experiences in your field would you most strongly recommend? So this could be what kind of internships or volunteer work or extracurricular activities that they should be seeking now before they go to their home country of India, for example, to look for jobs. We can start, maybe Harsh, we could start with you first this time.
Yeah. So for me, a lot of things have worked collectively. It's not just one single thing that helped me before moving to India. So university has so much to offer, and one should for sure take advantage of those, such as one can apply for WBC or be a student rep. It helps you to visit different universities and build that network that you might need while applying for jobs, because a lot of jobs are not even open to the public on LinkedIn or portals. It comes by referral. So it's very good to build that relationship with different people around and network around. What one of the best thing that has worked for me before moving back here or taking an experience in UK was the mentorship scheme that university provided, that helped me to land with a mentor who helped me with his connections, and I got a job in UK. So that is a really good scheme that is run by university. And for sure, if you are studying as of now, or even if you are graduate, you can still opt for that, and that can do wonders to build your network.
Thank you so much for sharing. Sunil, can I go to you next?
So I think from my perspective, I have spent the last 18 years working in the startup and the early stage ecosystem. So I only have one piece of advice here, is to find out startups in the UK or in India when you come back. Work for a startup, work for an early stage company, hustle, work on multiple problem statements. You become a much better personality or a professional when you work in startups and you start working with real life problem solving. That's my only advice I would give for this particular question, Shelby.
Thank you so much for sharing that.
And just to add to a point, sorry, maybe I missed it. There already exists an India UK startup program. You can obviously everyone can go and Google about it. So there are various initiatives between the two governments as well, where they're encouraging startup involvement from students and early stage professionals.
Amazing. Thank you so much. Pavithra, would you like to go next?
Sure, thank you. I actually resonate with what Harsh said, right? When I was in the University of Westminster, I kind of made use of the mentoring program as well. And not only that, I participated in the employability award. Although I got silver, but that really puts that badge on my CV, which really helped me land a good job. So I would say, as a starting point, definitely make use of the opportunity that the university provides, right? And as part of my degree, there were a couple of modules that I was able to choose, which actually gave me some practical experience. So one of the modules were to directly work with a company based out of UK for 4 months. So now I really get to put those 4 months of experience on my CV. So that really even for the other employers in the UK, they're like, okay, you've already worked in the UK, might as well come join and try out for 1 or 2 years, right? That kind of puts you ahead of the curve. So university is a great point to start. The mentorship program, the employability award, and also whatever the module that provides with that. And also definitely contribute to NGOs. Volunteering work really works wonders. Not only does it help you create network, but also just makes you understand and builds your personality as a person. So I would say that's great to start there.
That's a really good point. Thank you so much. To really make use of all of the opportunities and initiatives that the university provides, and also to build a network, because you never know where those relationships and connections can lead you in the future. So there's loads going on at the university to take advantage of now while you're still studying. Thank you so much. My next question, have you ever experienced any forms of reverse culture shock when returning to your home country? If yes, can you please share what surprised you, maybe in a professional setting and or in your everyday life? And maybe Pavithra, since you're already on the screen, would you like to go first?
Sure. So I wouldn't say a cultural shock, right? But this one thing that I've noticed after coming to India is how rapidly the startup landscape is changing every day. And especially for a Gen Z, like people of my generation, they find it really attractive. I'll tell you why. Although it's a very competitive market, I would say that the flexibility in work hours that you get in India is incredible. Like I choose to work at whatever hour is convenient for me, right? I choose my work hours. So my personal experience of working across UK, US, Middle East, and India, this is one thing that I've noticed in India, and this is very appealing for people of my generation to have control over their time and how they spend their day. So I think that's one thing that I really appreciate about coming back home.
Fantastic. Thank you. Sunil, can I go to you next?
Sure. Just to give you some context, I worked for a year after my graduation before I did my master's with the University of Westminster. And when I came back, I started working with different kinds of global organizations. So one big advantage for me was, I think, having studied in the UK, having worked with students across different geographies, different cultures, it kind of made me appreciate and learn a lot about other cultures around the world. And I think that really helped me in my professional setup as well. That's one big takeaway from me when it comes to my experience about Westminster. In terms of and from a culture shock perspective, I didn't experience much, to be honest. As I said, I was already working before, and I had just taken a 1 year full-time course and I'd come back again. I don't think there's much, but I think also I would say in the current times, a lot of work that happens in India is globally recognized in terms of also the work culture. We have multiple exchange programs. We have global companies, Indian companies going global. So it's kind of become fairly uniform now, is what I would say, across the working industry. It is in tech world, I would say that.
Thank you so much for sharing, Sunil. Harsh, I'm happy to go to you next.
Yep. I won't say a cultural shock because I had a similar experience just like Sunil, that I was working before and then I took a break and then I went for study. And I was working in EY and worked in London also. So had an experience of the global work culture and how it operates. So it was not a cultural shock while coming back to India, but at the same time, as it was early COVID stage and it was very hard to find job at that particular time. So there can be a case where you find it hard to find a job once you are back, but that there's no harm in keep on applying for different jobs and connecting with people, because at time things take time, but your degree is something that will stay with you and will for sure add value when you land any job.
Absolutely. Yeah, that's great advice. Thank you all for sharing that. I have one more question before we go into Q&A. So just a reminder for everyone who's joined us today, you are welcome to pop your questions in the chat or use the raise your hand function once we get there. But for our speakers, you have all come a long way since you graduated at the University of Westminster. What is one piece of advice that you would give to your younger self? We can start maybe Harsh, you can go first if you'd like.
So I would say I should have been more experimental with things, because if you just try to stick to one thing or stick to the normal routine, you do not learn much. Being experimental helps you in your overall development in terms of professional or personal front. So uh, do experience different things, may it be work related, may it be cultural related. So I would advise everyone that experience the things that are around university or around different culture.
That's great. Thank you so much for sharing. Pavithra, would you like to go next?
Sure, thank you. Well, I'm still quite young, but if I had to say one thing to my 18 or 19-year-old self, that would actually be a thank you. I'll tell you why. Because I chose to do a degree in event design and management, right? And people around me were like, they had very strong and different opinions on, like, why are you choosing an unconventional degree? When you come back, you're not going to land a job and all of that. But I would say is definitely take the risk, because after all, the field you choose is going to determine what you're going to do for the next 40, 50 years in profession. So definitely take the risk. You don't have to always go in the conventional path, even if your parents or like mentors or like, anyone around you tells you that this is not going to work out. If you have the passion and hunger, you should definitely go choose something that you really like. And I mean, might as well do whatever you like because it's going to be for the next 40, 50 years. That's one piece of thing.
That's great advice. Thank you so much. Sunil, I'm happy to go to you next.
Yeah, I think from my perspective, I think I'm quite grateful for being where I am today, to be honest. And I've been fortunate to work with some really amazing people in my journey, right from managers, peers, colleagues, friends in the industry, outside the industry. One thing that I would probably have, if I had to go back and probably fix, would be to take more aggressive roles in organizations in my 20s, is what I would have probably gone and fixed if I had to. But otherwise, I always look at each and every role as a learning process. And I think you are always adding some value or the other to your professional self in whatever you do every day. Right? As long as that is going on and you're learning things, I think you're on the right path. But if I had to fix something, I would have probably gone and accelerated my journey in my 20s. So I'm glad Pavitra is doing it already because she has the advantage of time.
Yeah, thank you so much. And yes, absolutely. We can take every single experience as a learning experience to take with us from now into the future. Thank you all so much. That concludes our panel discussion. I am happy to open up to questions. We did receive some pre-submitted questions that I'll start with just to give everyone some time to have a think. As I mentioned, you can pop your questions in the chat or use the raise your hand function and put your camera on if you'd like to ask a question directly to our speakers. So having a look at the pre-submitted questions that we received, these questions are for all speakers. So would you like to share what are your tips on effective networking and building lasting connections? Anyone who'd like to go first can.
Okay, so probably I'll take this first. One important tip that I got to learn from my mentor, so this was in my early part of my journey, was if you're building a professional relationship, don't be selfish to build it just for an outcome. Okay. You have to build a genuine relationship with people, which you can go back after decades, because you don't know where you land up in the next 5, 10, 15 years. Right. So that is one thing, honestly, I would love to tell everyone who are just starting their journey is make relationships, make connections without expecting an outcome in your favor. That's honestly what I would say for this one. Yeah. Thank
you. Harsh, Pavithra, would you like to add anything?
I would totally agree to what Sunil has said, because if you always look for benefit in any connection, it won't give you much of a good fruit, I would say, because building a connection is a two-way thing. And if you keep on going to a person or a mentor or anyone just to like, I need this and I need that, build on a relation with a person or in a network that you can add value to each other, not just taking it, but maybe you can help other person too to grow or to learn new things. It's always a learning experience for anyone.
Thank you. Pavithra, would you like to add anything as well?
Sure. I guess, I mean, I was there here. I was very confused as to like, how do I build a network? How do I actually talk to people? Because being the introvert that I am, that was really difficult for me. So what I did was, there was this extra course that the University of Westminster provided, where they actually got someone from LinkedIn to give an extra lecture, right? I remember it very well. It was in the Regent Street campus, and it was like very cold. I had to walk from Marylebone to Regent Street. But I would say that LinkedIn is a great place to start networking. Definitely connect with your classmates for a starting point, and even your professors for sure, because they are going places, and then they're always there to mentor you. So you should definitely like take tips from them and your peers, and especially in an international environment, right? Not all of them are of your age. Like I had someone 15 years elder to me in the same class as me. So that kind of brings in a lot of different perspectives. So networking within your class and also with your professors and using LinkedIn as a medium is a great advantage, I would say.
Definitely, LinkedIn is a fantastic tool for networking. Thank you all for sharing that. We have a few more questions. There's one question. In the UK, there's a lot of discussion on mental health and work-life balance. Is this also a conversation happening in India? Anyone who'd like to jump in can.
I can actually start here because in the current org that I'm actually heading the committee that actually takes care of mental health and any kind of difficulties that the employees might face, right? So I would say it's definitely picking up trend. I know the awareness is a little bit low in countries like this, but people are definitely concentrating on that. There's also topics about work-life balance, which I definitely like feel very appealing to my generation, of course. Things are changing, and mental health, there are even companies that provide like psychological advices or sessions for free that you could definitely take while you're working or studying. So I would say that, I mean, definitely make use of that. Doesn't, I mean, you don't have to shy away, like talk to someone. And if you need a break, like voice it out to your managers. You don't have to always be like, work. So that's really great.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you. Harsh and Sunil, if you'd like to add anything, you're welcome to.
Yeah, maybe what I can just add is what I've seen is post-COVID. I think a lot of focus on mental health and work-life balance. This is across startups going up to large corporates. It has now become earlier it used to be like a checkbox on your list from your departmental standpoint, but now it's become like a serious conversation where really they want to solve a problem and help people to come out of it. And there are a bunch of startups actually who are working in that space as well and doing some really good work. So I think it is kind of gained prominence. I'm not sure if I can comment about how it is compared to other countries. I don't have that knowledge, but definitely it's gained prominence in the last 2 years.
Thanks for sharing. Harsh, you're welcome to jump in if you like.
Yes, so it depends on which organization you are involved in, but overall, it has become a thing, that work-life balance, because you are nowadays working in a remote culture or working from hybrid models or completely work from home. So it has become a necessity, and a lot of companies are focusing purely upon the work-life balance and the mental health care that they can provide to an employee. Uh, Being in a company which is located in 17 different countries, I can add to this that basically the company is adding more values in terms of pushing you towards maintaining a work-life balance, rather than just asking you that you have to work or complete a project. That they understand your values and the problems that you might face. So it has become a thing in India too.
Great. Thank you all for sharing. We have a question from Marta, who asks, for any of the speakers, what are your professional values and how do you apply them in your work? Additionally, how do these values impact your customers? Anyone who would like to jump in first is welcome to.
Should I take it first?
Yeah.
Okay, I think from my perspective, a couple of things. I think it's pretty standard for everybody, nothing unique. But I think you have to be honest in what you do. You have to believe in the work that you're doing, and you have to be high on integrity. Right. These are things which are extremely important for the long term. This is something you cannot build over a year or 2 years and then let go, right? And I've come across situations in my professional career where people have tried to cut corners and try to get favors, etc. And I can't go into details. But then when you stand your ground, people know that you cannot approach someone like me for those kind of conversations, and that's important, right? That word also spreads equally fast, I would say. In terms of value or impact to customers, I think the same values or your same behavior, your skills, your qualities are seen by customers very early, which is why you end up building longer term relationships also. Because then you're a genuinely good guy, you're not somebody who will mess up with, blah, 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 right? So I feel those are like extremely important, irrespective of what domain you work on. Doesn't matter, right? That's honestly how I look at it.
Thanks for sharing, Sunil. Harsh, Pavithra, if you'd like to jump in, you can.
Sure. And actually, I agree with Sunil. And to add to that, right, I think three core values for me is definitely discipline. Like if I say that I'm going to get something done, I'm definitely going to get something done, right? Without multiple follow-ups from, especially if you're in customer-facing jobs, it's very important to gain their trust. They wouldn't want to be left hanging around like, okay, I've told this person this job, I believe them to like get this done. I think someone to be trustworthy is something that I hold on to. Other than that, for your own mental peace and all of that, I kind of like set ground rules. It doesn't matter if you're just a fresher or if you're 10 years into the career or 20 years into the career, but setting ground rules with all stakeholders that you work. Like if I have to go to the gym at 7 o'clock, I'm not taking any calls, right? So I think that's definitely one thing that I follow at work.
Thanks so much. Harsh, would you like to add something?
I would, these guys have already covered it all, but one thing that I personally follow is being humble. May it be the person who is working next to you, below you, or above you. If you are being humble and understanding, everything will fall in place with time.
Completely agree. Thank you so much for sharing. We have another question here. You are all very good public speakers. Do you have any advice on how to build confidence on public speaking? Anyone is welcome to start.
So I can go in first. This is what I have learned in University of Westminster itself, that when you interact more, as I stated in one of the earlier questions, that I used to go to different universities and colleges along with the staff from the Westminster itself to talk about the university and know people more. So it's more how you interact, how you talk, and how much you talk with people. The more you interact on a normal day-to-day basis with different people with different perspective, the more confidence you have to speak on a platform just like this. So it's a day-to-day routine that helps you to be more open and speak on the platforms like this.
That's great. Thank you. Pavithra, Sunil, if you'd like to add anything, you can.
Pavithra, you want to go next? I can go later.
No, go ahead, Sunil. No, go ahead.
Okay, I think for me it was a bit different. I actually learned public speaking while on my job. I started interacting with media professionals, journalists, hired a PR team. All that happened because we were building out a pretty large setup in India for a brand, and I was trained actually by the organization where I was working. So for me, it's happened on the job. To be honest, I have not been trained to public speak. It just happened with time along with my work, which I think is the best way to organically also public speak, I guess, sometimes.
Exactly.
Yeah,
Thank
speaking
you.
about organically, thanks Sunil for getting that started. I was an introvert like back in college. I was like the only Indian classmate my friends had, like the only Indian person, and then there were like multiple ethnicities, right? So that was really like, okay, I'm in the spotlight. Like, how am I going to do it? So whenever my teacher used to be like, okay, who wants to volunteer for like class presentation, I would actually go and do it because that's the only way I'm getting out of my comfort zone. And that's also a very safe space to start, right? Because there are people who are in your same level, like you're all students. There's nobody to judge you. I think like start in classrooms, like even if you don't like it, go give the presentation first. So that's one tip. And other than that, now that I'm in a professional setting, I see like there are personal coaches that actually train the CMOs, CEOs of my company. So I mean, it's always good to like take professional help. I wouldn't say, I mean, don't shy away from taking professional help if you're like an introvert like me. But one tip is that if you want to feel confident while you're talking, like power dressing, like dress like you want to talk. That's my top tip to always go. So I'm always ready, like dressed up to speak in public. So.
It definitely makes a difference. Yeah. Thank you so much for sharing, all of you. We have another question about choosing your career path. So did any of you struggle when choosing your career path? Did you always know that this was what you wanted to do, or did it happen by chance? Whoever would like to start is welcome to.
Okay, since Harsh and Sunil are silent, I'm going to start here as well. Sorry. No, I was a very confused kid. Like up until 9th or 10th standard, I was like, okay, I'm going to do industrial design, and that's what I actually did in my undergrad, right? So I went into like hardcore engineering designs and product design and all of it. And when I finished the degree, I really got a good mark, but it just wasn't very close to my heart. I figured it's not something that I want to do for next 40, 50 years. But I really spent a lot of time arranging the cultural college fests and all of that. So I was like, okay, might as well take this thing that I love as my career. So that's how I ended up in event design from being an industrial designer. So I was a confused kid, but trust me, you're gonna figure it out. But always like feel free to change. If you are stuck in UG, like you don't have to continue it in your postgrad as well. Like take that risk and change your degrees if you feel so.
Definitely, absolutely always able to change your career path. Sunil, Harsh, would you like to add anything?
So, for me, it was always something into accounting, but never knew that I'll be doing accounts payable as in where I'm currently in. So while coming after, earlier I was in taxation. Before that, I was in EY in auditing, now in hardcore accounting. So it has kept on changing, but it totally depends on what interest you built in. So what excites you, go for that.
Thanks very much. Sunil, would you like to add?
Yeah, I think what I would say is I've transitioned from being a core technology guy. I did my master's, I didn't do an MBA. And I kind of transitioned from product to pre-sales to marketing to sales to PR, comms, brand, and eventually become a general manager to run a company, right? Uh, a lot of that I would attribute it to people who I've looked up to in my journey. Like I don't have one single role model, but I looked up to various people in my journey. And you always aspire to be a bit of that person sometimes. And then you start figuring out how can I get closer to that? How can I build some skills? Whom do I need to network with? What kind of companies should I reach out to? Because I really want to be in that zone. For example, when I did my master's in mobile and satellite networks, I was fortunate to come back to India and work in the SATCOM domain for the next couple of years. But then in 2005, I saw Indians buying, there are millions of SIM cards being sold. So I transitioned to the mobile ecosystem in 2005, right? In 2010, when I got a chance to work with Opera, the browser company, I could see a lot of data usage starting off in the country. So I was fortunate to get to work with Opera as a browser company. In 2017, when Jio came out with their entire 4G network, I could see SIM cards and content consumption hitting the roof, literally. I was fortunate to work with a social media startup in India at that time named ShareChat. So I think a lot of my journey has been, I would say I've been a bit fortunate to work in the right area at the right time and identify some market trends which are relevant to you and you're excited about being part of that journey. I would just probably say that. And you can't plan all of this upfront. Obviously, it's going to happen as you run it. It's like work in progress forever, right? That's what I would say,
Definitely.
Shelly.
Thank you so much for sharing. We have just a couple more minutes, so if anyone else has any burning questions, feel free to add them to the chat or raise your hand. I have a few more.
I think that was, sorry.
Oh, sorry, go ahead.
There was one question on chat from Mitushi Singh about diversity and media job profiles in India. Should we take that?
Yeah, absolutely. Just to read out the question for the rest of you. They're interested, so they've done their master's in diversity and media and wondering what sort of job profiles they could go for in India with that degree.
Yeah, so honestly, I don't know what the degree really is, but I don't know if Pavithra, Harsh, you guys know something, or I can give a very generic reply if nobody has anything.
So actually, yeah, I don't have an expertise in this, but then I've seen like a couple of them with media background working here. So I think the job profiles that my friends, at least with the media background, are like, social media managers. Now that even corporates are being forced to go into TikToks and, like short form content because the attention span of people are really coming down. So I think that kind of profiles like content creation and social media managers would be like a really good start. And these are really picking up in corporates, at least like companies in tech like mine.
Okay. I think from my perspective, if I just understand media as a word in that particular career, I would probably expand that a bit more to say, if you want to be a content acquisition manager or a head of an OTT platform, that's one category. If you would want to do public relations, it's another category that can go across verticals. Like you could be a PR manager, a PR head, etc. You could work with an agency, you could work with a brand. It works both sides. You could, as you rightly said, there are a lot of opportunities on the content influencer marketing side. All companies have a social media team, and you could potentially try and set yourself up there. I can think of broadly 3, 4 areas where a media career could be interesting in the current times, I would say, in terms of being the most attractive. Or as your traditional media, you can go to television, you can go to print, and those always existed for like 30, 40, 50, 100 years, right? But if you're in the tech space doing tech media, then you would want to be in social or OTT or some kind of digital content platform.
That's really helpful. Thank you so much. Harsh, did you have anything to add? Or should I go to the next question?
Yeah, I have zero background in media, so I won't answer that.
No worries. Great. Yeah, we're getting close to time, so I'll ask one more question. There's a question about how each of you found your first role after university. So, for example, did you find your role from your network? Was it an online search, LinkedIn? Anyone who would like to go first is welcome to.
I can go first. So while in UK, it was based on network through my mentor. But once I moved back to India, it was more of LinkedIn search and doing the networking and reaching out to people to refer into for any particular job that I prefer to be in.
Thanks for sharing, Sunil. For me, it was somebody in my network whom I knew. And I'd just come back, and he knew I was actually traveling and working, like studying for the next 1 year. And he was probably just waiting for me to get back, maybe after a year, year and a half, and join back. Just fairly straightforward for me, to be honest.
That's great. Thank you, Pavithra.
So personally, for me, I've never had a great network. Like, I mean, it's great that Harsh and Sunil did, but like, I have always had to like depend on online platforms such as LinkedIn, right? So I landed all my 3 jobs on LinkedIn, surprisingly. So the first job didn't really work out because of, difference in opinions. So I had to quit that in 3 months. And then I ended up in a job in the UAE. But yeah, again, since it was the COVID time, we were all working remotely, and I used to fly a couple of times in a year. So I think LinkedIn really like helps you. If you don't have a network, you don't have to worry. Definitely go out there, send those cold messages out, like write those cold emails, reach out to people without fear. That's what I would say.
All right, just trying to get myself off mute there. Thank you so much. That concludes, we're just up to time now, so that concludes our Q&A portion of the event. I just wanted to say a quick massive thank you to our speakers for sharing your insights. It was really great to hear each of your different perspectives, and wonderful to hear that your degree from the University of Westminster has helped to get you to where you are today and has given you that visibility to secure the jobs that you're in. And also really enjoyed hearing your tips on building a network, CV advice, and gaining experience while you're still at university. I will now pass over to Divyesh Anand. He's our Deputy Vice Chancellor for Employability and Global Engagement at Westminster, and he's going to conclude the event. So Divyesh, I'm happy to pass over to you.
Thank you, Shelby, and thank you, Sunil, Harsh, and Pavithra. Again, I was listening to all of you while walking. In essence, I didn't want my camera to be on by mistake, but then you would have seen the vibrancy of London, including constant construction work, right? That's how it is. Like, I was listening to all of you, and again, and someone mentioned about learning, the importance of learning all the time. And that's what we do. I mean, my age would be double or twice what your age is, etc. My career journey has been different. I'm still not on LinkedIn, though by listening to you and from everyone else, I think I really need to go there. But anyway, LinkedIn. I'm more of a social media in terms of Twitter, Facebook person rather than LinkedIn. But what I learned from all of you, and of course, what I hope students who are here, but also we are recording it, maybe other students will learn from you, is the importance of taking initiative, importance of being open, but also that there's no one journey that's answered. So some of you talked about being organic. Some of you talked about practicing. Some of us are natural. There's no natural born speaker, but some of us are public speakers very easily. Some of us have to struggle to be a public speaker. But I always ask students when they're very much in anxiety that, how do I do this? I said, do you know how many years I took to finish my degree? They said, no. So you don't know. The reality does not matter in that sense. You know where I am, therefore, no, don't look at people who are successful to find out how can you be like them, because you don't know the journey in the end, right? That's the reality. But what I would like to add to all of you said, of course, is, and I would say to all the students and everyone, is champion yourself. The world is filled with people who're going to support you, not support you, who'll pull you up, who'll pull you down. That's the harsh reality of life. But the best advocate you can ever get is yourself. So whatever you do, never doubt yourself is what I'd say. When I say don't doubt yourself, doesn't mean we become arrogant, but we become essentially more open-minded, more listening to each other. And what I learned from all three of you, and I hope I do, well, if you come to London, come and say hello to us for sure. If not, whenever I'm in India, I do come from India originally. So I do go to India frequently. My family is there, including Bangalore, where some of you are there. I still call it Bangalore, not Bengaluru, by the way. But come and see you there, because this is a connection. Once you're Westminster, you'll always be Westminster. So I did want to thank all three of you for taking time out. I said the audience might not look big, but you please be aware that your voices will be amplified. The things you said will help a lot of us, including myself and our students. And I know that it would not have been easy for you to take 1 hour out. We're not calculating your time that you're spending with us. There's no monetization of it. But we do value the fact that you took time out, that we gave you some experience, and you in return are giving us experience. So on that note, I just want to thank three of you, thank everyone, particularly Misbah, Margot, Shelby, and everyone involved in setting this up. And thanks everyone. Have a great day.
Yeah, thank you for having us as well.
Thank you so much, everyone.
Yes. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Have a nice day.
Thank you, everyone. Bye. Have a
Bye.
nice evening. Bye. Bye.